You'll be able to do one second, right?
It's just me. It's just me.
How are we doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Hello.
How are you?
I am fine. How was your summer?
It was lovely. How about you?
Great.
Did you went on a cruise, right? Were you going on a cruise the last I talked to you?
I went to the Bahamas.
Hold on 1 second.
Yep. I went to the Bahamas in April, and I went again in August.
Oh, nice.
My wife didn't. I went with my sisters in April. My wife said, I wanted to go. I said, well, let's go back again.
Why not?
Actually, it's really too expensive.
Really?
I wouldn't, you know, I realize everything has got to be imported, but everything. We just looking at they don't like to take cash there.
Yeah.
So you got to put everything on a credit card, and then there's a fee for using your credit card outside of the country.
Of course. So you pay double. Well, you pay twice.
Yeah, yeah.
Man.
I guess we're supposed to wear masks here, aren't we? Are we wearing masks? Oh,
I think the public building, yeah. I'm gonna get one of the other ones. This is hot.
bring the gavel down? No. Maybe someone from your office can? Huh. So can we start?
Yeah, just wait 1 minute, Ron Cochran's gonna be here in a minute.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let's try that again. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Yeah, we got a few technical difficulties here with our electronics, and we're looking for our IT person to get us straightened out before we start the city council meeting. But this will be the first city council meeting after our summer in recess. And welcome back, councilors. I hope you can all hear us and understand us as we have to go through our protocols of wearing masks, and we'll try to speak as distinctly as we can so everyone can understand what it is that's being said here this evening. Mr. Clerk, are we ready to start, or do we have to wait a few more moments?
1 minute, I believe he's in the building, he's on his way down.
So we will just stand by then. Thank you.
Recording in progress.
So we're doing this meeting both in Zoom as well as in person. There were some difficulties with that, and I think we've got them all squared away. So now it is, I see 7:12 on the clock, and I'll now call the Malden City Council to order. Would you please all stand as we salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and
To the republic, to which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please remain standing for a moment of silence as we honor our service persons, our men and women in uniform, and particularly those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. May be seated. Clerk, please call the roll.
Kamel. Condon. Here. Crow. Di Maria.
Here.
Linehan. Here. Murphy. O'Malley. Here. Sika.
Here.
Spatafora.
Here.
Winslow. Here. Anderson.
Anderson here. Yes. So I'm reminded I should tell you that because we're doing this both in Zoom as well as in person, that each of the votes that we take here this evening must be in roll call. So the first order of business.
Public comment, there's two people that signed up. Harold Littlefield.
Sir, if you'll please come to this microphone over here. And once again, state your name and address for the record.
Name is Harold Litchfield.
Let me just put your...
Heritage, 195 Pleasant Street.
Yes, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay. Go back a little bit, about 1 year. Even when they built all this, I petitioned for lights for the elderly to come off the handicap ramp to the street. This is 1 year ago. I have begged, I have pleaded, I have done everything to get lights for the elderly. They put in 175 lights when they built this thing. 64 lights in front of 17 Florence. About 45 around the patio upstairs. Beautiful place that it is. We have 28 floodlights up into the sky, and God appreciates it because it was dark up there. Not one light for the elderly to get to the street. How hard could this be? I've heard that it's being designed. I've heard that we have to reassess what we're doing. It takes time. Are you waiting for an elderly person to get run over, hurt? What is the problem? I have talked to everybody. I think I may have missed a couple of you, but how hard could it be? I've talked about, well, it costs money. Is someone's light, what's it worth? A light, really? Do you have an answer? Can I get a light? No, all right. Another problem, why are vehicles allowed to park on the sidewalk and a handicapped person has to go out in the street to get up the sidewalk? We have a stop sign at the corner. The only car that stops at that stop sign There's a green car with an orange stripe. Police cars don't stop there. City vehicles don't stop there. We now have tractor trailers coming up the street here. This is not acceptable. This is a small community. We have the elderly. We have kids playing in the park out here. You can't have tractor trailers coming up this street. And one last factor, how come this store isn't handicap accessible? It's a brand new building. What's the problem there? Can't afford to put in a button? And that's all I've got to say, people. I thank you very much for listening. And
Thank you for your input, sir.
Hopefully, I'm not asking for floodlights, just more light so an elderly person or a kid can cross the street. Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
We have another person for public comment, Colleen Kazizian.
Hello.
Hello. You have 2 minutes. Go right ahead, Colleen, please.
Well, I also live at 195 Pleasant Street, and, you know, I walk to the stores, I do a lot, and at nighttime, I'm afraid to walk to the store because, like Harry just said, there's no lights there, and the car isn't going to see you coming if you try to cross the crosswalk. And there are women and men that have walkers that that have to go out at night. And it's dangerous. So I just wanted to say that I love living in Malden. I'm grateful that I got the apartment that I have, and I appreciate everyone. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Colleen.
Yeah.
Okay, let me mention that under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you who are in attendance, I want to inform you that Malden Access Television, formerly Malden Access Television, now known as Urban Media Arts, is recording both video as well as audio for all of that's going on this evening. And so just be aware that there'll be audio and video recording for this evening. And let's go on to the next order of business.
Paper 372-21, mayoral appointment, Susan Chu, 210 West Street, first floor, Malden, as an associate member of the Board of Appeal, said term to expire March 1st, 2023. Susan will fulfill the unexpired term of Emily Kibbler, who moved out of Malden. Confirmation required.
Motion to refer to personnel. I couldn't remember where I was going.
So on Councilor Crow's motion that we refer this appointment to the Personnel Appointments Committee, clerk,
Second.
please call the roll.
Condon? Yes. Crow?
Yes.
DeMaria?
Yes.
Linehan?
Yes.
Murphy? O'Malley? Yes. Sika?
Yes.
Spatafora?
Yes.
Winslow? Anderson?
Anderson, yes. That appointment will be referred to the Personnel Appointments Committee. Next order of business?
Paper 373-21, appointment Eric Henry, 75 Wiley Street, Malden, appointed to the Community Preservation Committee by the Malden Planning Board, term to expire May 1st, 2023, no confirmation required.
Placed on file.
Placed on file. Next order of business.
Paper 374-21, council reappointment Robert Donnelly, 38 Goldcliff Road, Malden, as a part-time member of the Board of Assessors, term to expire March 1st, 2023, confirmation required.
Motion to refer to personnel and appointments.
On Councilor Crow's motion that we refer this appointment to the Personnel and Appointments Committee, the clerk please call the roll.
Condon? Yes. Crow?
Yes.
DeMaria?
Yes.
Linehan?
Yes.
Murphy? O'Malley? Yes. Sika?
Yes.
Spatafora?
Yes.
Winslow? Anderson?
Anderson, yes. That appointment will be referred to the Personnel Appointments Committee. Next order of business?
Paper 375-21, the petition of Comcast, Granted location from the city of Malden. The work associated with the attached petition is for the purpose of installing a new underground conduit system to provide the Comcast service to number 120 Main Street.
So this is for the public hearing?
Public hearing, yep.
So I declare the public hearing to be open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please state your name and address for the record. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please state your name and address for the record.
Tim, control that first.
We have
person.
someone on Zoom that's going to speak. Go right ahead, sir. Please state your name, Tim Corthell.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tim Corthell, Corthell. I am representing Comcast today. The purpose of our petition for the grant location is to provide service to 120 Main Street. It's a healthcare building. We're proposing to intercept our current existing conduit in the sidewalk at the corner of Wigglesworth Street and Main Street, placing a vault at that intersection, then continuing approximately 160 feet in the sidewalk to the target building of 120 Main Street, adding another vault in front of that building, and then continuing just another 10 feet on the public way. Comcast will ensure that our contractor will provide adequate pedestrian walkways if we have to do a temporary walkway on that side of the road, or we will redirect any foot traffic to the opposite side of the road. Once we do place the conduit, we will be putting it in asphalt first temporarily, and then we will return to replace it to concrete as it originally was. And I will answer any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? I see the light on for Councilor Crowe. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I did speak with Tim, well, on email back and forth, and it's going from the corner of Wigglesworth, which is the corner of Bell Rock Park, to the Dexter House, the nursing home that is two doors up. And they did assure me it's underground conduit, and as he said, that they will be returning it along the sidewalk, that the sidewalk will be turned to concrete as it is right now. So,
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the petition? Seeing none, hearing none, I declare that portion of the hearing to be closed. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? Once again, anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the petition? Seeing none and hearing none, I declare that portion of the hearing to be closed. Do we have a motion? Councilor Crowe.
I make a motion to grant with the conditions that we usually have.
So you move that we grant the petition subject to?
There is a list of conditions. Do you have the list?
Okay, so on Councilor Crowe's motion to grant the petition with the following conditions: that the engineer be called when dig safe is notified, that the street and sidewalk be restored to the satisfaction of the Director of Public Works. Any other conditions? The clerk, please call the roll.
Have a second?
Do we have a second to that motion? Councilor Murphy seconds that motion. Clerk, please call the roll.
Condon. Yes. Crowe.
Yes.
DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker. Spatafora.
Yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That petition is granted. Next order of business.
Thank you.
Paper 376-21, livery, Armenda Singh, 27 Alpine Street, number 3, Malden, one car, it's a renewal.
Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that we send this petition to License Committee, please.
Okay, on Councilor Condon's motion that we refer this petition to the License Committee. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yeah.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That petition has been referred to the License Committee. Next order of business?
Paper 377-21, outdoor parking, Emmanuel Baptist Church, 20 Hillside Ave.
The lot address.
Yeah, the lot is at 29 Madison Street, 27 spaces, it's a renewal.
Councilor Condon.
Yes, once again, I refer this to the License Committee, please.
Thank you. On Councilor Condon's motion that we refer this petition to the License Committee, clerk, please call the roll.
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That petition is referred to the License Committee. Next order of business?
Paper 388-21, pool table, Mr. Suazo's Barber Shop, 16 Lebanon Street, Malden. One table, it's a renewal.
Councilor Condon?
Yes, once again, I'd like to refer this to the License Committee, please.
On Councilor Condon's motion, we refer to this to license. Clerk, please call the roll.
Condon.
Yes.
Crowe. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That license is referred to the License Committee. Next order of business?
It's on paper 361-21 on August 18, 2021 at 4:18 p.m. Councilor O'Malley made a motion to reconsider the vote authorizing Assistant City Solicitor John McNaught to investigate and respond to the July 29th open meeting law complaint by Ryan O'Malley.
Councilor, before we move on that, Mr. Lewis, before we move that, did you miss one here? The outdoor parking?
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Can we go back to take care of that one?
Yep, absolutely.
Please.
Paper 378-21, outdoor parking, 3C Realty Trust, 61 Clinton Street, 22 spaces, it's a renewal.
On Councilor Condon's motion that we refer this to the License Committee, clerk, please call the roll.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crowe.
Yes.
Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that is referred to the License Committee. Now we'll go to the next order of business.
Okay, next on paper 361-21 on August 18, 2021 at 4:18 p.m. Council O'Malley made a motion to reconsider the vote authorizing Assistant City Solicitor John McNaught to investigate and respond to the July 29th open meeting law complaint by Ryan O'Malley.
So I guess I need some direction from our city solicitor on the action that we're being asked to take here this evening on this. Councilor O'Malley.
Usually the tradition is the sponsor of the reconsideration explains why they're reconsidering. So I filed my reconsideration related to a August 17th authorization that this body gave the city solicitor's office to respond on its behalf related to an open meeting law complaint that I filed. On that date, August 17th, Assistant City Solicitor John McNaught appeared before the City Council in regards to an open meeting law complaint that I filed about a single instance of what I believed was a violation of the open meeting law. At that meeting, Assistant City Solicitor said that he had reviewed the complaint, and I'm assuming that he has very good reading comprehension skills, so he understood what my complaint was actually about. For some reason, the Assistant City Solicitor misrepresented the complaint by saying that I stated that the City Council violated the open meeting law, quote, many times, quote, by taking up papers not properly posted on the agenda and suspending docket rules many times. In fact, 12 times, end quote. The fact of the matter is I did not allege 12 violations of the open meeting law. I identified a single instance related to a significant financial paper that did not appear on the agenda. In fact, it was a paper that I would have supported had it gone through the proper channels and had proper review and was docketed on the agenda. I do not know what the motivations of the Assistant City Solicitor were, but it was a 12-fold increase in alleged allegations that was presented to this body under my name. That did not happen. I don't know if there was an intent to make it seem like I'm dilatory or I like to waste time or file frivolous open meeting law complaints, but that's not the case. It was a legitimate, intentional open meeting law violation, in my opinion. That misrepresentation was in front of this body and the public. And that is the reason why I have reconsidered empowering the City Solicitor's Department from responding to open meeting law complaints on behalf of the City Council. I apologize for not catching it that night. It did pass by me. I watched the video the next day when members of the public said, "I can't believe you filed 12 open meeting law complaints." And that's just not the truth. That's not the case. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Solicitor, would you please?
Council President? Council President?
I'm not sure who's asking. Oh, yes.
It's
Councilor
Councilor
Di Maria.
Maria. I apologize, but I was recused from this whole discussion. So may I ask to be recused for this discussion as it follows? And what I'll do is I'll shut my camera and shut my mute off. I think we might have to vote on that. So I didn't partake in any of this.
That's you're requesting to be recused from this discussion, and for what reason is that, please? Would you state that again?
Well, I was able to be recused with this vote, this financial paper. I believe this is the COLA financial paper. Is that correct? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, I believe that we're talking.
For retirees, is that right?
I believe that what we're talking about is a reconsideration of a vote that was taken at the last council meeting. That was part of it, but I'm not sure that that there's a need for you to be recused for this discussion, because one piece of that is something that has to do with COLA, and you want to be recused from that. Anyone else want to chime in on that? Councilor Di Maria has asked to be recused. Do we have a second to her request to be recused? Then we have a motion and we have a second to that. Let's, clerk, call the roll on the request to be recused.
Condon. Crow. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy. No. O'Malley. Yes. Sika. No. Spatafora.
No.
Winslow. Anderson.
No.
Fails 6.
Go.
Okay, now, City Solicitor, please, your response.
Okay, thank you. As you know, there was a meeting held at the end of the year at which there were numerous suspension of rules, docket rules, to address matters that were not correctly docketed. Attorney McNaught wasn't at that meeting, but you all were at that meeting and you all took those votes. Subsequent to that, the complainant, Councilor O'Malley, filed a complaint alleging one violation, and Attorney McNaught appeared before you to discuss the allegations of the complaint with regard to the violation. Attorney McNaught provided his initial analysis to you, indicating that the open meeting law was violated not just that one time, but up to a number of times, as you all recall from his presentation. You also then all voted, no one recused themselves, you all voted to permit the matter to be handled by Attorney McNaught, who told you he was going to complete his report and recommendation. There's a time frame within which, as you're all aware, from multiple open meeting law complaints that have been filed against this body and your committees, that must be filed within a certain time frame. The written report must be provided to the complainant as well as to the Attorney General. You may recall back to that meeting when I was giving you legal advice, which is all that we do here, is we give you legal advice. We don't have motives attendant to that. We want you to comply with the law. We try to give you the best advice that we can. Some areas are more gray than others, and some areas are black and white, and this is one that's very black and white under the law. You have to put things on your agenda ahead of time. Even if it's an emergency, you correct the docket. Even if it's 4 minutes before the meeting, you post it on the docket so that the public knows what you're going to talk about. In his review and his report and recommendation, Attorney McNaught indicated that there were multiple violations. That's not misleading. It's not false information. It is the facts of what transpired, and you were all here at that meeting. With the exception of the one vote, the Councilor DiMaria was recused. You voted to permit her to be recused on the vote with regard to one of those papers with the cost of living adjustment. You all voted here, suspension of rules a number of times. It isn't just his job to limit his review when he's being a productive attorney on behalf of the City Council and providing productive advice to you to help you adhere to the requirements of the law. And that's all his report said was there wasn't just one, there were multiple at that same meeting. There were multiple instances of it. And he also provided you with a remedial measure to revote those items to make sure that you comply with the law. It certainly doesn't warrant a reconsideration of the vote because the complainant's complaint was merited, as you know in the presentation. His allegation was given merit by Attorney McNaught. And in addition to that, Attorney McNaught, as your counselor, is going to tell you how to comply with the law and not parse out what the complainant wants you to parse out, but give you the entire picture based upon his review. It also does not warrant a disciplinary investigation of Attorney McNaught when he stands before you and he tells you what the law says and how you need to comply as a public body. We don't get in trouble when you don't comply. You get in trouble, and now you've had multiple instances, some of which have been found in violation. So we're trying to counsel you on how to follow the law. You don't have to listen to that advice. You can still go about conducting however you want to conduct it, but we're just telling you the law. So that certainly didn't warrant the disciplinary investigation that I was asked to do of Attorney McNaught when he came before you and told you what the law said and gave you some remedial recommendations on how to correct it, which is on your docket following this vote. I don't know if there's any other questions, but it's really egregious to question his motive in offering you plain old advice on how to comply with the law and ask that he be disciplined or a letter be put in his file or that we conduct a disciplinary investigation or even that we're wasting time here asking you to vote to reconsider a complaint that was found to have merit.
Thank you, Madam Solicitor. From the chair, let me say that I want to hear, and I think the council needs to hear, legal advice from our city solicitor. And I think you state that very accurately. You give us legal advice, we make the vote. I think there have been times when we haven't always wanted to follow your advice, and we take that as our risk and our responsibility. But I agree wholeheartedly with you that we look to you for legal advice. We make the vote, but you give us the advice. And is there anyone else who'd like to weigh in on this? I see Councilor Seeker.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor O'Malley, I think that you misunderstood Attorney McNaught that evening, because I certainly understood that although you only filed one open meeting law violation on one specific paper, we did violate, I think it was 11 other times. The meeting in question, I remember Councilor DiMaria stating that, what is this, the 12th time we've suspended council rules this evening? So although it was a paper that you clearly didn't want to pass, so you decided that you were gonna violate us in an open meeting law complaint. We did do it 11 other times, but the 11 other times were papers that you wanted to pass, so it was okay, and that's why you felt the need to file the open meeting law violation against us. And from now on, moving forward, this council is never gonna be able to hear something in an emergency, because we're gonna be worried about violating an open meeting law. Because every year for the past 8 years I've been this ward counselor, the last meeting, we suspend council rules for all kinds of things to get the business that we need to get done before we recess for 2 months. This is nothing more than you didn't like that paper for whatever reason. And even though you say that you were gonna support it tonight, we will never know if you would, because you didn't that evening, even though it was the right thing to do. 2 papers before that, you were talking about how can we tax take.
Point of order, what is your point? Point of order.
What is my point? My point is, just because something that you don't get what you want, it turns into a violation. So you're now going after Attorney McNaught. Excuse me? You're not understanding what I'm talking about? You didn't get what you wanted, so you filed an open meeting law violation.
Councilors, please come to order. Councilor Sika has the floor. Councilor O'Malley, I'll give you an opportunity to respond. Councilor O'Malley.
That's my point of order. You didn't get what you wanted. You filed an open meeting law violation because of it. And then when Attorney McNaught pointed out to us that we violated 11 other times, but those 11 other times were okay because it was things that you wanted. So therefore, they were okay. So now you're attacking Attorney McNaught because he supposedly is saying that you put in 12 open meeting law violations. I didn't get that from that meeting. I heard him talk about your open meeting law violation and then state that he was gonna reach out to all of us the following day. He reached out to me and asked me if I thought they were open meeting law violations, and I voted for all of them, and yes, I did. And I'm pretty sure everybody else that was up here probably thought that we all violated the open meeting law the 11 other times too, not just the one time that you didn't get what you want. I'm all set. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley?
So I don't know if Councilor Sika is familiar with the proper rules of decorum. I don't know if the Council President is aware of the proper rules of decorum, but that was completely unacceptable in terms of how Councilor Sika is behaving. I won't get into a cat fight with Councilor Sika by any means, but I do think that Ward 8 deserves a more respectful representative. The fact of the matter is, the allegation that I submitted was for intentional violations of the open meeting law by the City Council, but there were 2 members of the City Council who actually moved that. It was Councilor Spatafor that made the motion and Councilor Sika who seconded it. It was very intentional. They admitted it on camera, and to see on this docket the following remedial action that tries to mischaracterize and misrepresent an intentional violation of the open meeting law as an unintentional violation of the open meeting law has some serious ethical repercussions, I would say, for everyone involved.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor for reconsideration. I think we have, Madam Solicitor, you'd like to go right ahead.
Just in terms of advising you on the last meeting of the year, I don't think you've ever been in a circumstance where you've had these complaints left and right. And I'm not saying that because of the proliferation, there isn't some merit to some of them. We tell you when we analyze it according to the law and the decisional law, whether we believe it has merit or not, whether it's a gray area, and how to counsel you. You can add something to the docket on the business, and the city clerk and I have talked about this. You add something on the docket that you reasonably believe might come out of your committee with the votes may be taken, so that you have it, so that in this full council meeting at the end of the year, the public knows you're going to address it. And if you don't, and short of that, and for an emergency, you can, like I said, in an emergency circumstance, just post it. As soon as you're aware of the emergency and the need to meet and address it at your meeting, you just post it. Even if it's 4 minutes in advance of the meeting or 1 minute in advance of the meeting, just post it. That's the important thing. We live in a technological age that you can go back and post something rather quickly. So there are ways to stay in kind of the compliance lane that we're trying to encourage you on. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Lenahan?
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted clarity on what constitutes a legal posting under emergency situation. Is it literally just uploading it to the website, 4 minutes? Can we post it physically? Like, how would we do that if something was truly unavoidably last minute like that?
So for our city, the choice of the posting is on the website. So that's your required place to post.
Okay.
And that would be where that's where you do post everything, and that's where it would be posted.
Okay.
And again, in an emergency, as soon as you know about that, you put it on the docket. It's hard when you have to amend and amend and amend, but the city clerk knows he's just going to do an amended date and time of amendment and put that, that item on the docket for you, just so you comply. It seems like an inconsequential thing, but for us as your attorneys, it's a big deal to make sure that you're compliant with the letter of the law.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see no other lights. We have.
Mr. President, I have a question for the counselor. It's Councilor Spatafora. I know you can't see me.
Yes, I can't see.
Mr.
Go ahead,
President.
Councilor Spatafora.
How you doing? This is for Attorney Fallon. Attorney Fallon, so a couple things out of this discussion is we can never suspend docket rules to put something on the docket. Is that correct?
You do have a habit of suspending docket rules.
We do for a host of reasons. But what I'm hearing is basically to avoid that going forward, correct?
You should not do that. We've told
Okay.
you before, you should not do that because most of what you're working on, it's coming down the line, so you can your clerk's going to reasonably anticipate it and
Okay.
put it on the docket. I can't, as I'm sitting here right now, think of a reason that you would suspend the rules unless there's a tornado ripping through the city while you're meeting and you need to, take some sort of an emergency action.
No, the reason why I want to say that, I think it's good for the public to hear that because we've done it for giving licenses for Boy Scouts to sell Christmas trees last minute between Thanksgiving, and we've also done it for major financial papers. So going forward, it seems like that that tool is no longer an option. But that goes to my second question. When you say we can post it right before the meeting, what happens to we have to 48 hours notice. What happens to that rule? Does that go out the window? Or are you really saying a true emergency, like you just mentioned, a tornado, that's different. So my question is, sometimes, because if I go back to the financial paper that started this debate, the reason why we couldn't put it on the docket is because the retirement board had to have a meeting, I believe was that same day as the council meeting or the day before. So we didn't have enough time to put it on the docket because of our requirements. So in that situation, it's unavoidable again, right? Am I not understanding the last minute update on the website?
I can think of an example that happened
Okay.
at that meeting. That's an acceptable example of suspension of docket rules. You had, it doesn't read in the minutes, and again, we've talked to the city clerk about the manner in which the minutes are written. When Attorney McNaught looked at it, and later when we discussed this with the city clerk, you had enrolled an ordinance. You had two ordinances on your docket listed for discussion that evening. And you suspended the rule to ordain them. You enrolled them, and then you suspended your rule to ordain them. That is something that we would not consider to be an incorrect use of your suspension of docket rules because you had it listed, the clerk had it listed on the docket for a public discussion at this meeting. My understanding of what happened with that other paper is it went back and forth. It was in committee for a few months. The retirement board met on a Monday, took a vote on the amount, the increased amount up to the $18,000 of the benefit. They let the council know, and the council had a committee meeting at which it was addressed. So although it was this is my understanding, is although it was on the docket for a committee meeting, it wasn't on the full docket or anticipated to be on the full docket. It should be, and we've talked about that. I don't know if I know from my time here, you've never been in a climate where each meeting elicits an open meeting law complaint, and it could be about a whole host of different things. That's the climate that you're in right now. We don't want to give you advice that hamstrings the business that you're conducting, but you do have to make sure 48 hours in advance, anything that you expect to talk about, short of the emergency, should be on the docket. So that is, it just came to my mind, that's a good example of suspending docket rule when you had something there and you had to take a vote. Another good example is you have a paper that you would typically, you list it on the docket and you would typically refer it to a committee. You suspend your council rule of referral to committee to discuss it on the floor and deliberate it and take a vote on the floor. That's another example. So there's some clear-cut requirements in terms of posting an agenda and a docket. You could not follow that for the next 10 years and not get a single other complaint, but I doubt that. So we want to make sure that you stay with what you're required to do, because there have been violations found, and the more violations that are found, the less likely it is to be found unintentional. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen to you. We're your lawyers. We're trying to look out for you to make sure you comply as best you can.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. A motion is on the floor. A second to that motion. The clerk, please call for reconsideration. The second came from Councilor Di Maria, I believe.
No.
Councilor O'Malley made a motion to reconsider. Do we have a second? So I guess the motion then fails for a second. That's it. Next order of business.
So the next 7 papers are the remedial action that Attorney Minot suggested. So the first paper is remedial action. The following 7 items have been redocketed to remediate an unintentional violation of the open meeting law during the meeting of June 29th, 2021. The first paper is 337-21, order that the appropriation enumerated below in the amount of $40,000 be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Patchell Park Master Plan, $40,000 from open space, total appropriation $40,000.
So now the vote, this is sponsored by Councilor Murphy to affirm the vote taken at the City Council meeting on June 29th. Do we require a second for that?
Second.
Second by Councilor Di Maria. The clerk, please call the roll. Councilor O'Malley?
I am going to vote in favor of this. I do want to make it known that we have some serious feedback. I do want to make it known that I don't think that this will undo anything that we've done. The COLA is still in place. All these other things are still in place. This is just to reaffirm the support of the council. I did call. Maybe those who aren't speaking, if they could shut their microphones off, that might make the reverb go away. I did reach out to Controller Ranigan, hoping to speak with him about the financial impact, now that it was properly docketed. Unfortunately, he had a medical emergency, so he cannot be here tonight. I still will be voting in favor of this. The only thing I want to really get on the record, and I don't think that I'm going to have the support to amend this, but it does say here, remedial action, that the following 7 items be redocketed to remediate an unintentional violation of the open meeting law. I personally do not believe that is true. I think that it was an intentional violation. I just want to make the record known that. I won't make a motion to amend it because I don't think it will succeed. Thank you.
On reaffirming, the clerk, please call the roll. Okay, put your microphone on.
Condon. Yes. Crow. Yes. Di Maria.
Di Maria, yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy.
Yes.
O'Malley. Yes. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Yes.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That vote has been reaffirmed. Next order of business.
Paper 338-21, order that the appropriation enumerated below, being in the amount of $60,000, be appropriated from the Community Preservation Act Fund for the following project: Oak Grove Community Center Master Plan and Feasibility Study. Reserve total appropriation $60,000 from Historic.
Councilor Murphy's motion to affirm that vote,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Di Maria, I heard. Clerk,
Yep,
please-
thank you.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Condon. Condon, yes. Crow. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That vote has been reaffirmed. Next order of business.
Paper 235-21, order the City Council approve an increase in the COLA base from $14,000 to $18,000 for contributing and non-contributing retirees to the Malden retirement system.
Councilor Murphy? I'm sorry, Councilor Murphy, let me say that once again, please.
I just want to clarify for everyone here, although this was the paper that came before us, 14,000 to 18,000, the day before the retirement committee had a meeting and adjusted that to 16,000, and the vote that we took that evening was on increasing the COLA from 14,000 to 16,000.
16,000.
Yes, so I just want to make sure that that's clear to everyone.
So we have a motion, and do we have a second to that motion?
Oh,
I see the only other light that's lit up here is Councilor O'Malley. Councilor O'Malley, you seconding that?
I'm seconding that motion.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Condon. Condon, yes. Crow. Yes. Di Maria.
Present.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley. Yes. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that vote has been reaffirmed. Next order of business.
Paper 293-21, the committee will review and discuss the letter submitted by Attorney John Weaver, Celco DBA Verizon, regarding supplemental materials to the small cell application listed utility pole 1393 adjacent to 29 Ashland Street, the Ashland Street pole, and utility pole 55/7 VZNG 1136-1 adjacent to 80 Mountain Ave, the Mountain Ave pole.
That's on Councilor Linehan's motion that we reaffirm that vote. Seconded by
Spatafora.
Winslow. Clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Crow. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That vote has been reaffirmed.
Paper 294-21, the committee will review and discuss the letter submitted by Hans Eisenbach, attorney for Externet Systems, Inc., regarding request to reconsider recommended denial of attachment license request by Externet Systems for 84 Durso Ave, 52 Malden Street, 183 Highland Ave.
Is this you, Councilor Linehan? On Councilor Linehan's motion that we affirm the vote, seconded by, I want to push your buttons. If you want to be second, I want Councilor Winslow. Thank you. Clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Condon, yes. Crow.
Yes.
Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That vote has been reaffirmed. Next order of business.
Paper 162-21, outdoor parking, AGM Auto Sales, 135 Eastern Ave, 24 spaces, it's a renewal.
Councilor Condon, motion to reaffirm this vote, seconded by, who's seconding?
I can second, Mr. President. I don't have a button.
You don't have a vote, Councilor? I saw Councilor Crowe seconded that. Thank you, Councilor Spatafora, anyway.
You're welcome.
Clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Crow. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan. Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes, that has been reaffirmed. Next order of business?
Paper 326-21, petition Class 2, AGM 160 Eastern Ave, Malden, change number of vehicles from 18 to 24.
Councilor Condon, motion to reaffirm. Seconded by?
Sika.
Push your button.
I did.
Push it again. Now I see it. Councilor Seeger seconded it.
Sorry.
Clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Crow. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan. Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes, that's been reaffirmed. Next order of business?
Paper 379-21, order that the mayor be authorized to apply for grants and execute documents required to effect plan renovations to Deva Park, including any deeds, instruments, and contracts relating thereto, and that actions taken prior to this vote will be ratified and confirmed.
Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Council President. I think everyone has the, that's the short version of the order. You have the extensive, does everyone have it? Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have an opportunity to read it? Yeah. Well, the reason why we went for a walkthrough with the representative that from Environmental Affairs that was in charge of the park grants applications. And there was some information missing, and really it's a reassurance that the project has the full support of the City Council and the Mayor's office. Because once they give that park grant, they don't want to see the project stalled for lack of funds. So that's why we put this in. I'd like to acknowledge Debbie Burke from the MRA and also Janelle DeVitz, who heads up the Deva Park Revitalization Committee, for they're working together to put this audit together. So I thank you both for your time and effort, along with the Mayor's office and the Mayor's support. So I would move that the council approve this.
Thank you, Councilor. We got a few lights. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, I'd just like to second this. I appreciate Councilor Condon and Ms. DeVitt's work and Ms. Burke's work on this. This is an important project. I know there's been a lot of community support for it. It's exciting to see another one of our parks moving forward through this process. And I know it is a kind of a gauntlet of requirements that you have to go through. So I definitely very supportive of this and happy to second this motion.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Murphy.
Yes, I was going to second it also, but I guess Councilor Winslow was a little quicker on the button than I was, but I also want to just voice my full support for this.
Thank you, Councilors. Clerk, please call the roll.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crow. Yes. Di Maria.
Di Maria, yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy. O'Malley. Yes. Sika.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that order has been adopted.
I'd like to thank the full council for their support on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Next order of business.
Paper 380-21, resolved that it is the sense of the City Council that the Municipal Building Committee of the new City Hall meet and address the following outstanding items. Number one, installation of ADA compliant entrances and exits with automatic doors. 2, location of the city archives. 3, laceration room in City Hall. 4, status update on multi-language signage. 5, lack of lighting around the exterior of City Hall. 6, the incorrect spelling of City Hall in the front of the building. 7, on-site bicycle parking.
Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. As we heard earlier tonight from Harold and Colleen, residents of 195 Pleasant Street, there are various outstanding items related to City Hall that really need to be taken care of. There is a committee that is responsible for this. This is the Municipal Building Committee of City Hall. Myself, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Spatafora serve on that committee with various staff people and the mayor as chair. I've asked that the committee be called so that we can address these 7 items and any other items that the council or the members of the committee would like to. Again, I'm going to restate it slowly for the public. The installation of ADA compliant entrances and exits with automatic doors. What we've heard from our elderly residents is that the doors are very difficult to get into. If you're in a wheelchair, it is almost impossible to get through. I'm told by our building commissioner that technically they are ADA accessible. I don't think that they are up to par for what our residents are expecting and what we should be delivering to our seniors and members of the public who may be disabled. The location of the city archives. We are required as a city to have city archives. We currently are not in compliance with that requirement. There are no city archives right now. That really would go on the shoulders of the city clerk because God forbid there was a fire or a flood in one of the many places that we have documents. We would lose a lot of vital records that we're required to by law to protect. So we need to build the city archives. We haven't done that yet. Number 3, a lactation room in City Hall. If we really want to diversify our staff and attract new employees, younger employees, we should be really making sure that we are accommodating young mothers or anyone else who needs to have a lactation room in City Hall. It should be dedicated. It should not be, a second thought. It should be something that people know exists. That will help us attract high-quality staff. Number 4, a status update on multilingual signage. There was a proposal by myself and various community groups to make Malden City Hall a beacon of language and multilingual signage in our community, almost like a very large Rosetta Stone, where you could go in and no matter what language you spoke, if it was spoken in Malden, you're going to be able to operate and you're going to be able to really feel like the city of Malden was thinking about you and building its city hall for you. For whatever reason, the Municipal Building Committee pretty much voted against that, kind of kicked the can down the road a bit and said that we needed to have a substantial language access plan in the city. The way you eat an elephant is one bite at a time. I was suggesting we take that one bite. It was put off, so I would like a status update on the city's language access plan. You heard about the lack of lighting around the exterior of City Hall. I was not on the City Council when this project got approved. It's a beautiful project. It's really, I think, award-winning. One of the oversights is that there are very little lights, if any lights, on Florence Street or Commercial Street. There are still the old ones that predate the project. There's also a relatively lack of lighting in the plaza, which is the only public access, or one of the only, actually it's the only public access that 195 Pleasant Street, the Heritage has. The city with the MRA, or the former MRA, and the former State Senator Jack Brennan and his partners landlocked the Heritage. They do not touch any frontage. So we need to provide the residents there access that is safe. City Hall on the front of the building is spelled wrong. It's been spelled wrong for close to a year. And there's no reason why our brand new City Hall should have City Hall spelled wrong. We talked about a similar issue with the city motto, but things like this matter. You don't just make the City Hall sign in paint, Microsoft Paint, and throw it on the front of the building. You actually make sure that it looks good. And the building does look good, but City Hall should be spelled correctly. And finally, I do think that on-site bicycle parking for staff and members of the council and the public who would like to bike here there's very little parking. One of the challenges with this site is that there's no dedicated parking for our building. So encouraging multimodal transportation and giving residents ways in which they can lock their bikes safely, staff providing them a bike room, etc. These things are low-hanging fruit that makes our community more livable. If you'd like, we should probably just refer this to the Municipal Building Committee. That would be my motion, or to pass it, but I'm up to hearing what my fellow councilors have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would be willing to second the motion to refer it, but I just wanted to explain a little bit about why I agreed to co-sponsor this. So I was just looking back through my email. The week before everything shut down due to the pandemic, the Municipal Building Committee was kind enough to host me at their meetings to discuss the lactation room in particular, which have been through this process where I work, which is a state agency, having to kind of retrofit this accommodation. We luckily have a brand new building here, so I think it should be easier for us to make that accommodation. I know we have had recently and currently do have nursing parents in the recruitment process for some of the open positions in City Hall, and so this is going to become a problem sooner, or a challenge, I should say, sooner than we might think. But more importantly, we're legally obligated to provide a separate lactation space as of state law dating to 2018. So again, I just want to thank Councilor O'Malley for kind of bringing this punch list of items back up to the forefront now that we're back meeting. I'm hugely in support of finding a solution to the bike parking challenges as well. And I do hear from constituents pretty regularly that they have issues getting in and out, not just the door without the button, but also out the back where it's kind of hard to see at night, and a little bit the grade is slanted as well. So I know these are all things that we can work through, but some of the reasons I wanted to co-sponsor this is because I do hear from these issues from constituents, and I do think it's going to be a recruitment issue as we look to fill some positions in our beautiful new City Hall. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, I thank Councilor O'Malley for bringing these up. It is, we're a public building. It's important to respond to these needs. And for example, I know Councilor Anderson and I were working on the Kerstead Park project, and one of the neighbors there said that there wasn't lighting on a path from Roosevelt Park to Eastern Avenue. That path had been there for 20 years, and no one spoke up about it. So I appreciate the folks at the Heritage for speaking up right away and not kind of letting this slip by. I mean, now's the time when we've invested in this building, and now that it's open to the public, it's important to address these things that obviously it may not have been the most urgent thing, some of these things, as we were trying just to get the building open amidst COVID, but we have the time now to get this kind of public punch list addressed, and I would certainly encourage folks to support this. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. I have to take this off to speak because my glasses will fog up and I have a lot to say. So first of all, I really don't think that this resolve is something that should be coming in front of the City Council. We do have a Municipal Building Committee that has been in force since April of 2016. And people on this committee have worked extremely hard over the last 5 years to create an environment here for the folks who work here and the general public. So are there some things that still are left to be done? Yes. Does it need to be brought here to the City Council, for us to tell the Municipal Building Committee to work on this? No, I don't think it does. But I also think that there's some things that we need to know just so the public doesn't think that we did things wrong here. So first of all, I'd like to address the ADA compliant entrances and exits. We're constantly reminded by our Inspectional Services Department that the state of Massachusetts does not regulate handicap accessibility in buildings through the ADA, but instead uses the Architectural Access Board Regulation 521 CMR. This distinction is important to understand when claiming that a building element is not code compliant. The doors to City Hall are code compliant. 521 CMR does not require automatic door openers if the doors are able to comply with maximum door opening forces, and they do. This is the path that the design team took when designing the entry. The addition of a greeter at the front lobby has also assured that anyone who needs assistance in entering and exiting the building has access to it. That does not eliminate the possibility that we can put in a push-button door. I know doors are very heavy for people, etc. But I don't want people to walk out of here thinking that we designed a building that was not ADA compliant. It was compliant. Can it be better? Yes. And are we working on it? Yes. The location of the city archives. City archives are currently located at the Oak Grove Community Building. The decision was made by the committee not to, and this was the Municipal Building Committee, not to dedicate space in the new building to archives, given the cost of the space and the utilization of prime space in a new building for boxes. The plan is to build out space at the basement level of the Jackson Street garage. The project is outside the scope of the City Hall project and the Municipal Building Committee itself. It wasn't part of the budget nor of the project plan. It may require its own building committee under section 2-16-110 of our ordinances. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. We should. Councilor O'Malley is right. Our records need to be stored in areas that are safe and compliant. Similar as we just passed from the Community Preservation Act, the ability to store records in the library. But this falls outside the Municipal Building Committee. So I want to make sure that as we're sending things back to the Municipal Building Committee, we know what we're asking them to do. The lactation room, and I'm a woman, so I totally get this, okay? And I was a woman breastfeeding when there wasn't any lactation room anywhere, so, you know, I get the thing. But I also want to just point out how this goes by law. A lactation room is an accommodation that needs to be provided to employees. It is not a dedicated room for that express purpose. The Pregnant Woman Fairness Act states, among other things, that an employer must provide an employee a private, non-bathroom space to express breast milk or breastfeed. Examples include, but are not limited to, a private room or office. The space should be free from intrusion by other employees, visitors, and the public. The space should be convenient enough for the employees that are traversing to and from the space, does not material impact the employee's break time, and ample time is allowed for the employee to perform this task. The space should also allow employees to comfortably express milk or breastfeed. Also, examples of this feature that should be included in this space are sufficient electrical outlets for breast pumps, tables or other services to hold breast pumps, or other needed items and seating. An employer does not need to have to provide a space for expressing breast milk for our employees if none of its employees currently need to do so. However, once an employer is on notice that an employee will need such a space, the employer should prepare the space promptly so that it is ready when needed. Additionally, employees are free to set up such a space in advance, even if none of its employees currently need one. There are a number of rooms within City Hall which could easily be converted for this purpose, if the need arises. There are also other possible conditions that a current or future employee could have which would require a similar accommodation, including injections for diabetes and vitamin deficiencies. Similar to lactation, none of these would require independent, dedicated rooms in a building. Now, this was not brought up when we were designing the building. And as a woman, a mother, someone who did breastfeed, I see the need for it. But we need to really look at the building because we're going to take space away from something else, and we need to figure out how to do this. Councilor Linehan had brought up something about a modular unit. That might be something that we could look at, but you know, it is definitely something that we need to continue to discuss, but it just was not part of the original plan because it was not brought up until the very end. Okay. Status update on the multilingual signage. Councilor O'Malley was absolutely right when he stated in the Municipal Building Committee, we felt as a group, okay, that we needed a kind of a master. We talk about master plans for everything, master plans for parks, master plans for projects, and the lingual issue here was we felt that we shouldn't just go off on a one-off. I know we just heard the statement, you know, eat an elephant one bite at a time, but it made sense to us as a committee that we should have a master plan for linguistics and how, not just City Hall, but if you were in the parking garage, if you went into our new 110 Pleasant Street where our school superintendent is located, if you walked into the schools, that there was, you know, a plan as to how we were going to roll out the ability to communicate effectively with all of our population on all levels. And that's where the Municipal Building Committee left it. And actually, Councilor O'Malley, I think we left it with you, if memory serves me correctly, and you were going to work with the Citizen Engagement Committee on trying to come up with something. That was kind of my recollection of that, but, you know, I won't push that. But I do still think that what we need to do is we need, as a city, to actually come up with that master plan of what makes sense for us and how, just like, you know, when we roll out computer equipment, you know, that we do the same thing in each building so that we have our IT department can support it, and also our residents, when they go in to utilize the access points, that they're similar. They don't have to learn something new in each spot. So that's something that I really think that we need to look at. The lack of lighting around City Hall, landscape lighting was not part of the Municipal Building Committee project, okay? It was part of the condo common area, okay? I understand we worked with Jefferson and we were able to significantly increase the lighting in the beds, pointing them to the walkways. Lighting is a thing where one person wants more and one person wants less. As I think every councilor here knows, when you put in, someone wants a brighter light in a street light, you get it put in, and then 2 residents are complaining that it's too bright. We also have to be mindful that there are residents who back up to the courtyard, and therefore lighting it up like a stadium can cause other problems. This is not an issue to come to the Municipal Building Committee. This is really an issue, I think, where the city itself needs to collaborate with Jefferson Apartments, Public Facilities, and Heritage on options on the way to kind of work with the lighting that needs to be changed out there. But it's not something that's part of the actual Municipal Building Committee. So that was, you know, that really is nothing. It was missed in what we designed for City Hall. It just wasn't part of what our project phase was. The incorrect spelling of City Hall. Of course, everyone knows City Hall is not spelled incorrectly. It's just that it's missing a space, okay? The sign was installed without the spacing that was called for between city and hall on the vertical sign. The contractor, who was a Malden contractor, because we like to support homegrown businesses, has agreed all along to fix this, and a solution has been identified. The fix was delayed by COVID and building access. The letters are being removed, a new backup panel installed, and the letters reinstalled with spacing is designed. So we are not forgetting about this stuff. You know, it was a little weird, you know, not having that space there, but I don't think it stopped anyone from knowing that City Hall is here. But as Councilor O'Malley indicated, you know, we did pay for it to be installed correctly, and it should be fixed, and it is going to be. For the on-site parking, one of the things, Councilor O'Malley, I don't know if, I'm assuming you know this, but maybe you don't, but Jefferson Apartment Group has agreed to allow access for employees' bicycle parking in their secure bike rooms in the garage, just as they allow us access for our cars. So, I mean, employees do have access to a secure lot. Once again, this was something that was not brought up in the initial designs. It was brought up at the very end when there was really no space to bring bikes in unless we want to put them in the lobby here or maybe take away a conference room. I know Councilor Linehan and Winslow provided a great deal of input on this and great solutions. This was communicated to the Municipal Building Committee over a year ago. Visitor bicycle parking would be, as with other buildings in the downtown throughout, multiple on-site bicycle racks installed on Pleasant Street. And there's no really further action for the Municipal Building Committee. That doesn't mean that we can't put more bike racks out on the street. You know, as you know, Ward 4 Downtown Councilor O'Malley, I'm sure, I know you like bicycle racks. I see them up and down Main Street. So I'm sure, you know, we could work on putting more out there. But it certainly is not something the Municipal Building Committee at this point would get involved in, as we have solved the solution of employees riding their bikes to work and having access through Jefferson Apartment Group. So, you know, on the motion to refer this to the Municipal Building Committee, you can, but I just wanted to point out there are some things that do not fall within the Municipal Building Committee's purview. So, no, thank you. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Malley?
If the committee would, I mean, if the body would prefer, we could just pass it. So I would move to pass the resolve, since it's just a resolve.
Have we have a second to that by Councilor Linehan? Clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Condon, yes. Crowe. Yes. DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy.
Not as it's written, no.
O'Malley? Seeker?
No.
Spatafora?
Sorry, yes. I'm sorry.
Winslow?
Winslow, yes.
Anderson?
Yes,
Carries 8-2.
so the resolve has been passed. Next order of business.
Paper 381-21, be resolved that the City Council of Malden that the City Charter Review Committee report at the next full City Council meeting on the status of paper 555-2018 regarding the development of a new city charter so that the City Council and Council President can consider whether to take action to, number one, discharge such paper from the City Charter Review Committee so it can be referred to Council of the whole meeting, or two, adjust current council assignments on such committee.
Councilor Winslow for the paper. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I know, at a recent meeting, I had talked about, and had a paper related to working to move ahead with amending the charter to create a transportation commission. And as a result of putting that paper up there, I sat down and spoke with the mayor's office, and some of it is, there seemed to be a couple of things going on. Just as some of these issues were being worked on by the Charter Commission, COVID hit, so there's been some delays, but there's also been some new issues introduced. I just think it would be good for this committee to get an update as to status what the Charter Commission review is. I just kind of would like to kickstart this process again. We've been waiting for this a long time, so I just figured we could have Mr. Hogan come out, give us an update, and then we can have a discussion of what we want to do. I know Mr. Kamel's not here. He's part of the commission. Maybe is that part of the discussion we can see. Perhaps he'd like to pass on that responsibility to be on the committee. So I just think it's time to have an update of that, and then make some decisions on how we move forward as a council. We've been waiting quite a long time to update our charter, and for me, I've been trying to be patient about this transportation commission, but we have several people who are kind of doing that on the side, not really. We have a parking department that's not part of it that should be. We have a new. We're working to get the transportation planner, so we just really need to update the things related to our transportation, and I just want to move things along. So that's my suggestion on the resolution, and we could have that presentation and talk more about how we want to go forward as a council to help move this process forward. Thanks.
So Councilor Winslow's resolve. Do we have a second to that resolve?
Mr. President, can I interject?
Is that Councilor Spatafora saying yes?
No, I want to just I want to speak. I have my hand up. I don't think you can see it. I don't think you can see myself or Council DiMaria. We kind of fell off the screen, it looks like there, but we can see each other, so we can see you.
We can't see you.
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I think you just have to click on the corner up on the right. Click on the right. Further up on the X up above participants, I think. Oh,
Here we are.
Here we go.
Now we got you.
We got you.
You want to sit over here?
Okay. Very good. We see you. No more. Great.
Councilor Spatafora, do you want to?
I want to add a few comments, if I may, Mr. President.
Please, go right ahead. You got the floor.
So I certainly support the idea for Council Winslow to, I know he's been working hard on the Transportation Committee, but, the charter review has been sitting dormant, I think, for probably over 2 years now. And I do not want to see things passed individually. I think we should look at the entire charter at once, which I know this paper is the intent. The one thing I would say, though, is, given so close to an election, I think before we start giving councils reassignments, I don't know if it's worth pausing till the new council takes over. Councilor Kamel is not going to be here in a couple more months. Council DiMaria is not going to be here, and some of us might not be here. So my only hope would be that when we look at this charter, we've waited this long and it's been sitting there. I don't know I don't know why we would want to get an update when the council can change. And I don't think you're going to see this charter passed within 6 weeks. So my request would be, if we are going to have them come in, I don't think anything should change until the new council comes in and has their ability to put their fingerprints on that work. That'd be my request. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. I don't see any other lights that are here. Anyone else wishing to comment on?
Council President?
Councilor Di Maria, go right ahead.
Yes, thank you, Council President. Unless I'm misunderstanding the resolve, I think this was actually just to ask Mr. Hogan to come in and just give us an update where we're at right now, just as a point of information for all the city councilors. I know that Councilor Kamel, Councilor O'Malley, myself, Maria Louise, Karen Anderson, and Ron worked a year and a half on this every other Wednesday night, and then COVID hit. So I think, you know, it was just a whole, you know, pause. Everybody had to just, you know, pause on that. So unless I'm misunderstanding, the resolve would be just to actually just ask for an update from Ron Hogan. So am I maybe through the chair to Councilor Winslow? Is that what he's asking for?
Yeah, I mean, that's primarily what I'm asking for. I mean, I want that update, and then we can discuss as a council how to proceed. I mean, I'm open on that, but I just, you know, like I say, I've had that transportation paper, and I just would like to have the council and the public have an update as to what's going on, and then we can, as a whole, make a decision on how to move forward. So thank you.
Yeah, moving forward in the 2022 year. So I would second that for an update from Mr. Hogan, so.
Oh, thank you. So it sounds like the resolve that's here needs to be changed. What you're asking for is an update. The discharge in the paper from the Charter Committee isn't necessary. It sounds like you're trying to eliminate that now. Is that right, Councilor Winslow? Is that what's being suggested?
I'm not asking that be part. It does say that we be it resolved that the Charter Review Committee report at the next full council meeting on the status, so that the council and the president can consider those actions. But I'm not saying that if we pass this tonight, we're requiring those actions. I just put those in as potential actions. So I'm just, mostly it is just a report. You know, one of the actions is to not take any actions, but it is, I just thought after the report, we should have some discussion about what the council wants to do. So it's really to put this out as get a report and also have some discussion as a council. So that's, but.
So my recommendation would that you would amend your resolve.
That's fine, because we can always have the discussion. So yeah, I'm fine.
Amend your resolve to have the.
I accept that as a friendly amendment, just to, yep, sure. So
Amendment.
So, yeah.
Are you clear, Mr. Lucy? Okay, we can amend. So on the motion to pass the resolve as amended? So what's the amendment will be? What would you restate an amendment, Councilor?
So I'd say the amendment is to delete, the last portion. The resolve would be it resolved by the City Council of Malden that the City Charter Review Committee report at the next full City Council meeting on the status of paper 555-2018 regarding development of new city charter, and then period. Delete all the remaining language.
Okay. So we're removing all the bottom of that. Okay, that's the amendment. Do we have a second of that amendment?
Second.
Second by Councilor Murphy. On the amendment, clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley. Yes. Sika. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes. Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Anderson, yes. So the paper has been amended. On the resolve as amended, Councilor?
Oh, I might have an amendment. I just want to ask a question, if I may.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes, the question, it just says that Mr. Hogan report at the next full council meeting? I mean, we need to know that, first of all, he is available, and number two, that he has time to put this together.
I have
Have you spoken
spoken
with
to him
him?
tonight, and he said he would be available.
Okay, perfect. Then I'm good. Thank you.
So it's a resolve, we'll see if he's
Yep.
available and have all the documentation, but, so we have the paper, the resolve as amended, clerk, we have a second to that by whom?
Councilor Di Maria.
And the clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes, so that paper has been, that resolve has been passed. Next order of business.
Okay, the next paper, 382-21, is on the docket, but it's in the wrong place. It's down, it is on the docket under paper 387-21, the table paper from August 17th. So this is not, shouldn't be where it is.
Next order of business.
Paper 383-21, order that the following alternative draft zoning amendments be sent to a joint ordinance planning board hearing for consideration. Alternative 1, order be it ordained that section 12 of the revised ordinances of 2020, effective 1/1/20, be amended by changing section 12.030 use regulations to indicate that warehouse and wholesale and distribution uses are not allowed uses in business highway zone. Alternative 2, order be it hereby ordained that section 12 of the revised ordinances of 2020, effective 1/1/2020, be amended by striking out the first 3 lines of section 12.12.010, paragraph B, and replacing that with B, except for warehousing, wholesale, and distribution in highway business districts, where a special permit will be required by the city council in accordance with this action, or otherwise herein provided for all institutional, business, industrial, and other uses, where a special permit is required as indicated by letters SP, the use may be allowed only by special permit granted by the planning board in conformance with the following controls.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I know some folks on the council are aware, next Monday, there is a planning board hearing under consideration of allowing warehousing in a highway business district. And I'm very concerned about if that action goes forward favorably, that's going to create a precedent where any highway business district in the city could then potentially become a warehouse. And you know, with the challenge we're having, highway business districts, you know, nationally are really under challenge. These are places that traditionally are, you know, are retail strips and that type of thing. And, you know, with the pressure from online retailing, those areas are struggling. And I think, you know, I don't know if we really anticipate that, like the Town Line Plaza on Highland Avenue might become warehouses, or any place, many places along Route 60 or further down Broadway would become warehouses. So, and I also know that as part of the planning study for Broadway, that recommended not having warehousing in the Broadway district. So this is a paper that would make sure that whatever action the planning board recommends next week, that we would not have a further expansion of warehousing in other parts of the city. So that's the real purpose of it, that I don't want whatever action happens next week to create a precedent that would really expand warehousing and draw more semi-trucks and a lot of trucking into areas, with at least having some discussion from the council as a broader thing. So that's the purpose of this paper, is to make sure that we control warehousing in, you know, throughout the city. I mean, this is the major commercial streets of the city. You know, imagine that all of that, the strip businesses become warehouses. That's just a concern. So that's why I brought the paper up. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Seeker.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Winslow, just to note, though, this paper has nothing to do with the planning board, the paper the development that's in the planning board at this moment. So we're not giving anybody false hope that that development may not happen. Because it's already in the planning board, this paper will have nothing to do with 735 Broadway.
I fully understand that.
Okay,
but it's-
so
we'll have-
I've had some people question it, so that's why I just want to make it clear that this paper is not going to stop the development if it is to pass at the planning board next Monday at 7 o'clock. So I just wanted people at home that are listening that, you know, although this paper is on our agenda this evening, it is not going to hinder the development at 735 Broadway for next week, possibly. It will be for all future developments. This one's already in the pipeline. This one could still get approved if, you know, if this paper passes, once we discuss it, then so be it, but it will not have any effect on 735 Broadway that's already in the planning board. They've been in the planning board for months. We've had a few hiccups along the way. This could have been approved or denied 2 months ago. So I just want everyone to know at home who's watching, this paper that's on this docket has nothing to do with the development of 735 Broadway. And I know that you mentioned, you know, the Broadway proposal, but some of those things that were proposed in that study are unrealistic. They wanted us to move buildings. So I think, you know, 621 would be better off if it was closer to the sidewalk. So some of those proposals in that Broadway corridor study are completely unrealistic and will never happen as long as I'm alive or possibly my kids, because if I owned a building, I wouldn't be moving it just to appease a corridor study. So I just wanted, you know, to let everyone know this has nothing to do, 735 Broadway. And although we have this proposal, this isn't, it's not our new Bible of how we're going to create Broadway. So, thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. So Counselor Winslow is moving that we refer this paper to Rules and Ordinance and Planning Board hearing. Do we have a second to that motion? We've got a few lights on. Counselor Murphy.
Second.
Counselor Murphy seconds that. Any further discussion?
Don't make a discussion.
Clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Yes. Crowe.
Yes.
DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Yes. Seeker.
Yes.
Betafora.
Better yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that paper's been referred to a joint Rules and Ordinance and Planning Board hearing. Next order of business.
Paper 384-21, order that the city council consider in executive session minutes recommended for release.
I need some help with this one. Madam Solicitor, can you come forward for us and give us some guidance here?
This is a pretty long-winded announcement on the executive session review. And as the council knows, there's a periodic review required. We're talking about executive session.
Correct.
There's a periodic review required by the council to determine release. The last time we did that was under Council President Seeker. We actually did 2 reviews for the council. You had the clerk, then clerk, and I take a look at things, which was really the legal department that did that. So the city clerk and I worked on this again to give you an updated periodic review. And what I provided to you after working with the clerk on this was a review again of the same minutes that we looked at before to see if the purpose for which the privilege, if the privilege may be waived, or we could recommend to you a waiver, or recommend you consider it to be released. So the last time that the council took up the recommendation, which was in 2019, we went up to a certain period of time, and then Clerk Lucy provided minutes from that period forward. So what you see here that I provided to you is a list of those minutes that we could recommend that the council consider an executive session for possible disclosure, many of which could be considered for disclosure with redactions. And what I gave you was a list of the dates, the recommendation on the review, and then the reason why we've made that recommendation. And, you know, the next steps would be for you could either take it upon yourselves to go into executive session to look at those minutes, or you could also, which is what you did the last time, you went into executive session and reviewed them to determine whether or not you wanted to vote to release them. So there's quite a few that the purpose for which the privilege remained you may no longer consider that as necessary. And so we've just kind of given you some recommendations on that. And we've taken it up to 2021 is so we've taken this up to date. So you'll see some on this list that were not on the previous list that the council considered, because those reasons that we gave you previously may not be necessary anymore.
So does everyone have a copy?
No.
I'm the only one that has a copy.
No, and Councilor Anderson, if you want me to read the dates of the minutes that we could recommend release, what would happen next, and typically what happened before was the city clerk would provide you with the minutes to review in executive session. You can take them in batches, you can take them all at once, and then you would consider these in an executive session, take a vote on whether or not to release them, and then come out onto the floor and make an announcement. So that's kind of explaining the process to you, and then the minutes that we've looked at that we could potentially recommend release.
So if I'm following that, why
don't we read them, and then the next council meeting, which is the 21st, we can schedule an executive session.
So we should take no action?
No, we're gonna read those, but.
I'm gonna read that.
Well, I can do it if you want.
Clerk will read it.
I can read it fast if you prefer.
Go ahead.
Okay. So basically, this is an itemization of the minutes that we reviewed. We did as I indicated, we took a look at the minutes of 2005 to 2019 again, and then we looked at 2019 to present. So these are the following dates that we could recommend for either redacted release or release for your consideration of release. The minutes of January 27, 2004, October 26, 2004, February 15, 2005, April 15, 2005, January 25, 2011, November 15, 2011, October 23, 2012, February 19, 2013, January 14, 2014, February 4th, 2014, February 25th, 2014, May 20th, 2014, June 17th, 2014, August 19th, 2014, September 30th, 2014, October 14th, 2014, November 18th, 2014, January 29th of 2015, May 26th of 2015.
What's that date?
September 29th of 2015, November 10th of 2015, December 8th of 2015, July 29th of 2017, August 10th of 2017, January 8th of 2019. The remainder of the minutes that were reviewed, as you know from the previous review and in the current review, the privilege remained intact, so the basis for which you went into executive session still remained. So this set of minutes we could recommend that you consider for review for release, many of which would have redactions for things like attorney-client privileged portions of that, so we could make recommendation on redactions for a lot of these.
So, read the recommendation.
So what we would do is on the September 21st, we could schedule an executive session for all the minutes to get voted on?
You know, you don't have to do that right away, but you could take them up in batches as your schedule permits, Counselor.
So we need to vote on that. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I'm fine with that suggestion. One of the things I suggested is perhaps that rather than, I don't know how voluminous this is, but perhaps what we could do whenever we schedule that meeting is that we make sure the week ahead that these are available at our city council office, that people can schedule a time to go in and review those. So we don't have to make massive volumes of these, and then we could do that, you know, have them in the executive session as well. People need to review them, but you know, that would be my suggestion, that, you know, rather than having our compliance officers drop off huge packets, that we have them available, you know, at the council chamber, council office, and you know, people can make appointments with Ms. Cagno to look at them. That would be my suggestion.
Councilor O'Malley?
I was just going to ask if the redactions have already been done, or if that is a process that will, because that would also dictate when we can review them.
The last time we did this and reviewed them, we had the minutes, and then we showed you what we would recommend for redaction. So we certainly would have that prepared for you whenever you take them up.
Understood. Thank you. And then the only other question I had to the clerk, this paper was resulting in me reaching out to you to ask this to be put on the docket. But the second part was also the approval of the past 2 executive sessions that we've had recently. We changed the process so the council actually approves the minutes of the executive session. We haven't done that yet. So is that going to be part of this process? The last 2 executive sessions that we had will approve those minutes?
Besides the 4/20 date, what was the prior date?
I feel like there were 2, but I'm not 100% sure. I might be incorrect. I feel like there might have been 2 recently, but I can double check.
No, the only one in the last 2 years has been 4/20.
There's only been 1? Oh, okay, then that's the one. So that would be we'd review those minutes during that for approval?
So so I sent out the minutes from 4/20, but
You did, and so I think that the process that Councilor DiMaria and Councilor Sika collaborated on back in 2018, I believe it was that they distributed, and regularly a executive session would be scheduled just for the approval of those minutes. That's my understanding of the process as we passed it in 2018.
I don't recall there being any change to the current process, but I don't recall that being a change. Typically what the council did previously was the clerk reviewed and ensured them for accuracy. So I don't know if that was a rule change that you made, and I'm sorry, I can't, the clerk would have to speak to that. I don't recall that, though. I think if you had that, then the clerk would be regularly producing minutes to you when you receive your regular minutes and your executive session minutes, and you would be reviewing that. So if that's the case, you'd have been approving them this all along.
So just to add some clarification, we've only had 1 executive session, and that's why this hasn't come up before. But back when Tom Brennan was the city clerk, we did pass an amended rule. As you know, back then, a lot of things got lost in the shuffle, I guess is how we'll say that nicely. But we did amend the rules. It may not have made it into the rule book formally, but the new process is, and this was quite a collaboration between Councilor Sika and Councilor DiMaria. We would receive the executive session meeting minutes, which we have been. They've been sent to us, and then regularly we would meet and review the contents for approval that's the official process that the council has voted on.
Councilor Seeker?
Thank you, Council President. I don't think it was necessarily us going back into executive session, because like Attorney Fallon just said, I think we were worried about having to constantly keep reviewing executive session minutes every time. So I think, if I remember correctly, we had like 7 days. We were going back and forth between 7 and 14 days to approve them. But I think they were at the clerk's office for whoever wanted to go and see. Wasn't it something like that? We definitely were not going into an executive session to approve executive session minutes, because we were worried that we were gonna then have to approve those executive session minutes in executive session, and it was just gonna keep snowballing. So if I don't remember the exact date. This was 2 years ago now. So I don't remember if it was 7 days, if it was 14 days. I remember us going back and forth with this. Maybe we changed it to 10. We met in the middle, but I thought, if I remember correctly, we had them available in the clerk's office for whoever wanted to go see them before we approved them that meeting.
Okay, that would have been nice to make it into, but my last rule book is 2018.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about two different obligations under the law. You have an obligation to regularly approve your executive session minutes and your regular session
We
minutes.
did that in 2019.
Okay, so
Yep.
that typically comes the week after or the next
Yeah.
meeting after.
We haven't had an executive session in a
Yes.
long time.
So the other part of the compliance with the law is you will have to periodically, it's not specified the period of time, but you periodically have to review executive session minutes to determine whether or not, you know, the reason for going into executive session still remains, and if it still remains, they remain privileged, or take a vote to say, well, this, you know, the reason no longer exists. 99% of the time, the reason is going to remain intact. The privilege is going to remain intact, and those minutes are always going to remain privileged. But the periodic review is to determine, is there anything we can release now? Vote, is there anything you can release now? And that's the purpose of this review for Council President Anderson and the council. So that's two separate obligations. Now I understand what you're saying. So the new process for you is you all review and yourselves approve the minutes for accuracy.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Now you have to review to see if you can determine if any of those can be released.
And so when do we do that? On the 21st?
Council President.
There's a lot of them. I mean, if everyone thinks that they can review them in 2 weeks. If not, we can, you know, do it a little further out, depending on what everyone's schedule is.
Council President.
Yes, go right ahead.
Thank you, Council President. So I was quickly trying to count how many minutes we would have to review. This question, I think, through the chair to the city solicitor. And I counted close to 18, 19 different sets of minutes, something like that. But my question is, how many have we, over the years, kind of said we don't have to review those anymore? I just wonder if you happen to know that.
That's a tough question for me to answer, because it also this sort of so that I don't have the answer. I can't answer you because I don't actually know how many times the council as a body has gone into executive session. So I can only go over the period of time for the minutes that I was given to review. So.
And that's 10 years, Kate? Does it go back? No, it's more than that. You said
2005, I believe,
Yeah.
2004. You had me do this previously. The council had me do this previously. And it was, you know, it takes a lot of time just to compile the minutes for the review. So I understand what you're saying, but I think if you can try to just at least get up to speed with the recent past, that would be a good showing of attempting to comply with the periodic review. So we did do a large portion of this previously, and your periodic review by the council could just be a couple of times. You don't have a process for that, so we're trying to recommend a process to you. It could be just a couple of times a year where you're reviewing, because, you know, like I said, more often than not, they're going to remain privileged, but it's just because it hadn't been done up to that point. To my knowledge, it hadn't been done up to that point to review for release, possible release. So that's why you have a long list.
So I'm thinking that we've got a series of these recommendations that we need to be reviewing. We're not meeting in the council next week because of the election. The following week is the 21st of September, and we plan to do an executive session where we can, anyone who needs to review them, they can be available. Where? At the city clerk's office? Anyone who wants to review them, and then we can go into executive session on the 21st. Does that make sense to you, councilors? Yes. So that's what we'll do. We'll go into executive session on the 21st. Councilor Crowe, you wanted to say something?
I just wonder if, since the next time we meet is going to be a full council meeting, should we wait till the week after when it's a committee of the whole, so we're not stretching this out, and it's only one more week and it gives people time to review?
So that would be, that's not a bad idea.
28th?
That would be the 28th. Is that 28th? Okay, I'm getting a thumbs up. So let's, so the motion then will be, we will move to have the executive session on the 28th of the committee of the whole. And let's take a vote on that. That's my motion from the chair, and Councilor Crow's seconded that motion. Clerk will call the roll.
A motion from the chair.
Yeah, motion from the chair.
Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. DiMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. Yes. O'Malley. Yes. Seeker.
Yes.
Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So on the 28th, we'll go into executive session and review those. In the meantime, they will be available to anyone who needs to see them for the clerk's office.
I'll put it together.
Okay? Thank you. Next order of business.
Paper 389-21, Communication Planning Board, Paper 339-21. Order be it hereby ordained that Section 12.12.030 be amended by striking SP and inserting no for parking facilities off-site in Resident A zoning district.
Councilor Spatafora for the paper.
It's actually Councilor O'Malley's paper.
Councilor O'Malley for the paper.
I would refer this back to ordinance for further discussion.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to refer this to rules and ordinance, do we have?
Oh, I apologize. Is this the communication that we need to receive? Oh, so I'll receive I'd move to receive the communication.
It's a communication, it's not a committee report.
But don't we have to receive it?
So on the motion to receive the communication?
Huh? You don't, it's a
Oh,
communication.
you receive committee reports. Okay, refer it to
Ordinance.
ordinance. Sorry.
Call the roll.
Get a second?
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by DiMaria.
Condon. Yes. Crowe. Yes. DiMaria.
Yes.
Linehan.
Yes.
Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker. Yes. Spatafora.
Yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. Referred to rules and ordinance. Next order of business?
Paper 390-21, Communication Planning Board, Paper 232-21, be it hereby ordained that Section 12 of the revised ordinances of 2020 be amended by adding Section 12.12.200 entitled Inclusionary Zoning.
And that is Is that Council Spatafor or is that Council O'Malley?
Council Spatafor, Mr. President.
Council Spatafor for the paper.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this paper, I think as everybody knows the history, has been sent to the planning board first to have discussion on it. There was a committee established. I will not go into all the committee members, but for the council's perspective, myself and Council Winslow are on there representing the council. We met numerous times. There's a lot of work put into it. We had an outside consultant come in. It was presented by Evan Spatrini at the MR from the old MRA. That was reviewed by the planning board. There are no recommendations, I believe, out of that planning board. Now it's back before us. We have two distinct paths that we can take. I believe Ms. Romero was in the audience. I can't see the audience, but I believe the city planner, Michelle Romero, was there for questions. The intent by Evan, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but certainly I had a discussion with Evan today, and the mayor's office, is to pass this on the floor. However, I do understand that in the past, we did get it, we do send it to ordinance and planning to have discussion there. There has been no suggestion by the planning board, or I don't believe any of the councilors, but I don't want to certainly stymie that. I do support either path. I would support passing on the floor, but I was part of the process and understand the work that went behind it, but I don't want to certainly take away the standard process. But if there is any questions that I could answer, or certainly Council Winslow, Michelle Romero was there, I believe, and can answer those questions. But the hope and the intent is that we do pass this on the floor and not send it to the just the ordinance committee. And if that is not the case, we can send it to ordinance committee, make any suggested changes there, and come back out to the full council in a couple weeks. But we do want to pass this as soon as possible. So I would open it up for any questions, and certainly I would invite Michelle Romero if she had any additional input that she would want to provide to the council, and certainly the residents of Malden. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council. There's a number of lights on. Start with Council O'Malley.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank the city planner and Mass Senior Action. Would we mind shutting off that microphone so it doesn't have a reverb? The middle one, if possible. I can do it. My apologies. I was asking the Council President to do that. I didn't want you to do. So I would like to thank the city planner as well as the senior planner in the new department that is no longer the MRA that I can't remember the name of. And I'd like to thank Mass Senior Action for really bringing us to this state. I personally would like to pass this tonight because, time is of the essence. If we had built this, if we had this ordinance 10 years ago, who knows what Malden Center would look like right now? Who knows how many seniors we would have been able to keep in our community? Who knows how many residents would still be living here? So I would move to enroll this ordinance.
There are a few more lights on. Just hold that motion, if you will. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I am also supportive of moving this and enrolling it tonight. We had, initially, we had a study committee that Councilor Spatafor and I sat on that looked at and had consideration from an expert consultant on how to craft a Malden-specific ordinance. We had that report. The Affordable Housing Trust reviewed that as well, approved it, came back to the council. That went to the Rules and Ordinance Committee for refinement of the ordinance, and that came back to the full council, and then was referred to planning and Rules and Ordinance joint meetings. So we've had a lot of public meetings and a lot of process on this, and considering that the Rules and Ordinance, this is basically what the Rules and Ordinance Committee recommended to be referred, and it's coming back without any changes. I don't really see a need to refer it back to Rules and Ordinance, and I think many councilors were at the joint hearing anyway, so I think we've had a lot of community process, a lot of support, so I would be supportive of moving ahead with this tonight.
Thank you, Council. Council Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too am supportive of passing this tonight. I think it's been a long time coming, and I know a lot of work has been done on it. Haven't always been able to be in those meetings. My own committee meetings had conflicted, but I've tried to read through everything and rewatch the presentations. I really want to commend everyone that's worked on this. The only thing that I did want to say is that I think as we move into this and start to assess how the units are being built, whether that's on-site, off-site in the same neighborhood, or through a pilot fee, that we just keep in mind wanting to really assess how, if at all, the Malden preference is affecting the racial makeup of the units that are built. I think some of the latest studies that have come out on affordable units built through IZ policies are showing that while I think the intent is good to give preference to helping Maldonians stay in the community, it can actually tip towards disadvantaging communities of color. And I think we don't want to do that, and just to, not to hold this up or amend it, but just to keep in mind that maybe we should look at that as we get into it. I know we don't have much in the pipeline right now that would be subject to this, but as we do, just to be mindful of how that local preference might be unintentionally disadvantaging communities of color. But otherwise, very, very supportive of this, and extremely thankful for all the work that's gone into it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Council President. I'd have no problem passing this paper tonight. It's a paper that hasn't been very controversial, and everywhere it seems to go, people are in favor of inclusionary zoning. So I don't see any need to bounce this back to ordinance. Certainly be in favor of voting on it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So on Councilor Spatafora's motion to adopt on the floor, Councilor DiMaria.
Yep. Thank you. And I just wanted to make sure to go on record that this is such the process was so intricate. The process everybody did their due diligence on this. This inclusionary zoning is something that we've talked about. It came to planning and failed about 4 or 5 years ago. I am so glad it came back to the table. I'm so glad this is exactly what we need in Malden. And I am definitely in support of passing this tonight and rolling it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. So Councilor Spatafora's motion to adopt, we have a second to that one. Who seconded that? Councilor
Second.
Second, the first button on there.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Condon, yes.
Crow. Yes. DiMaria.
DiMaria, yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley. Yes. Seeker. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes. That paper has been adopted by the full City Council. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to enroll the ordinance.
That's it. We just did it. That was to enroll.
Was that
was to enroll.
He's already. That wasn't adopted. That was to enroll. Thank you. That's been enrolled, so we're all set.
Yeah.
Next order of business then.
Paper 385-21, Committee Report, Rules and Ordinance. Paper 267-21, order be it hereby ordained that the Malden City Council, that the revised ordinance of 2020 be amended to reflect changes contained in the proposed 2022 budget.
Councilor Spatafora, is that you?
That is, Mr. President.
On Councilor Spatafora's motion to receive the committee report, clerk will call the roll.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crow. Yes. DiMaria.
Yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley. Yes. Seeker. Yes. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes. Committee report is received. Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I do want to thank, I forgot to do it in my speech for the past motion, Michelle Romero, the city planner, for being available tonight, just in case we had any questions. So thank you, Michelle. I didn't have the opportunity to see you on the way out. So just wanted to say that. This one, just to refresh everybody's memory, because when I saw it, I had to go back and look. This is the changes that was passed in the Ordinance Committee on June 8th of 2021 related to the budget. These changes were created the new MRA, which is now the official, I think the official term is Strategic Planning and Community Development. And so this was in the docket, this was passed in committee June 8th, 2021. It was related to the budget. And this was all the amended sections, which I have a copy of them. I can share them on the screen, but this was for the Office of Strategic Planning and Commission amending section 2.204, which is basically taking all the MRA positions, and I'm being very general because I know we changed some titles and some pay to match the city, but the addition of a planning and development specialist, the addition of a policy and program manager, the addition of a grant writer and manager, the addition of a transportation planner, which was approved in the budget, addition of a community development director, and there's some other sections as well where it's the addition of a senior planner, policymaker, addition of a home, which is for the grants, capital HOME, program director, and then there's also in section 2.20. 05, Section D is the addition of planning and development assist. All these were already approved in the budget. This is like we always do, is making the budget's been passed. These individuals are already in their new positions. This is just making the ordinances match the budget. We do it with the Patrolmen's Association, superior offices, firemen, et cetera. So this is just tick for tat. But if any questions particular, I have everything in front of me. We can go through it individually, but just wanted to give you as much detail as possible. Questions? I
So
can't
is-
hear everybody.
I don't see any lights on. Any questions? It looks like the council is ready to vote on enrollment as submitted in committee. We have a second to that?
Second.
You heard that second, Mr. Galuzzi?
I did.
You did? Clerk will call the roll.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crowe. Di Maria.
Di Maria, yes.
Linehan. Murphy.
Murphy, yes.
O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. The paper's enrolled. Next order of business.
Paper 264-21, order be it hereby ordained the Malden City Council at section 2.04.010 of the revised ordinances of 2020 be stricken, and the following section 2.040.010 be inserted in the place thereof. The mayor shall establish and may from time to time amend a regular schedule of the day and hours during which administrative offices of the city will be open to the public. The mayor may temporarily alter the schedule so established in observance of legal holidays or when it is deemed that opening poses a threat to the health, safety, or welfare of the city employees or the public.
Council Spatafora's motion. Is this on Council Spatafora's motion to ordain this ordinance?
This is to ordain. We enrolled it.
Yep.
At June 29th meeting. Yeah.
That's correct. Sorry, I was reading along with you, Mr. President.
I didn't understand what he said.
It's to ordain.
On the motion to ordain. We have a second? Second by Councilor Crowe.
No, Councilor Sika.
Councilor Seeker. Second by Councilor Seeker. The clerk will call the roll.
Condon. Crowe. Yes. Di Maria.
Yes.
Linehan. Yes. Murphy. O'Malley. Sika. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow. Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that paper has been ordained by the full city council. Next order of business?
Docket is clear.
The docket is clear.
Council Winslow has something.
I see one light on. Councilor Winslow. I just wanted to give an update on the table paper 387-21 and get the sense of the council whether we should take that off the table or wait. So this is a resolve related to Maplewood Square. And one of the questions that Councilor Murphy came up related to this resolve was to, one of the things it calls for is to establish a city council ad hoc committee on Maplewood Square. And Councilor Murphy pointed out that when we formed other ad hoc committees like the hospital site, we have residents or staff. And I did reach out to Michelle Romero from our city planner and talk about, I think she'd be a very good person to have involved with that committee. considering her experience both in planning and historic preservation. She's open, and I've spoken to the mayor's office about including her as, the city planner as an ex officio, and she's open on that. And I think, we talk about this is referring to having, communications with residents and business owners, so perhaps we should have it be a 6-person committee, 3 counselors, and the city planners as ex officio, and a resident and a business owner. So that'd be my suggestion, is just to simplify this resolution to have the council establish an ad hoc committee on the future of Maplewood Square, to include the sponsor, the Ward 6 counselor, an additional counselor to be named by the president, a resident, a business owner, and the city planner as ex officio. So that'd be my motion if we decide to take that to the table. So
So it sounds like your motion, Counselor, is to take that paper from the table.
Yeah, I'll make that motion to take it from the table.
Do we have a second to take that?
I'll second it.
All right.
And who was that? That was Counselor Spatafora?
Council Spatafora.
Counselor Spatafora
Mr. President.
seconds that motion to take it from the table. Clerk, call the roll.
Condon. Crowe. DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan. Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that paper is off the table.
Okay, so I would propose that the paper be amended to read as follows. Strike sections 1 and 2, and leave that the city council hereby establishes a 6-person special committee on the future of Maplewood Square to include the sponsor of the resolution, the Ward 6 city councilor, an additional councilor to be named by the council president, the city planners as an ex officio member, a resident of Ward 6, and a business owner in Maplewood Square. So that'd be my proposed amendment.
Do we have a second to that proposed? Do we have a second to that proposed amendment?
I'll second it, Mr. President.
Counselor Spatafora seconds that proposed amendment. Any discussion on the proposed amendment? Counselor O'Malley, do you have a discussion on the proposed amendment?
Yeah, I'm just clarifying, you're striking everything and inserting that, right?
What?
You're striking everything and putting in what you just said?
I'm just.
Oh, there's point 3. I missed point 3.
Point 3.
Okay.
Point 3 is to have a special committee. So I think the special committee can kind of take up points 1 and 2. But
Okay.
so I don't think it's necessary to put those in the resolve. So I think it's just
Understood.
cleaner to say we're going to, just like we established a hospital site committee, we would be establishing a committee on Maplewood Square.
Understood,
So
thank you.
that's the real purpose of it, so.
So the resolve has been
yeah.
amended and seconded. Clerk,
Yeah.
call the roll. Motion to
Condon.
amend.
Condon. Crowe. DeMaria.
Yes.
Linehan. Murphy. O'Malley. Seeker. Spatafora.
Spatafora, yes.
Winslow.
Winslow, yes.
Anderson.
Anderson, yes. So that's been passed. Next order. Next order of business.
Dock is clear.
Dock is clear.
Just another good.
Winslow.
We have council minutes to approve, is that correct? Is that?
June 20. The minutes of June 29th were tabled.
Do we need to take those off the table then? Okay, we'll do that later. Okay.
Councilor Winslow's moves that we take the minutes from June 29th off the table.
Need a second?
Councilor Winslow, would you repeat that, please?
All right. I just, yeah.
I said, do we need a
withdraw
second?
my motion.
I would make the second,
What?
Mr. President.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you both speaking. Say again.
I said if you need a second, Mr. President, to take the minutes off the table, I would second that motion on Council Winslow's motion to remove the
I'm
minutes.
withdrawing my motion so we can take it up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah,
Okay,
I just,
so
it was
it'll
more of a
remain
point
on
of
the table.
information, so, all right, I just withdraw that motion, so.
Any requests for personal privilege? Councilor Linehan.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to wish folks a belated happy Labor Day and, back to school for the kids. I think that they've all, well, tomorrow kindergarten goes back and then I think everybody's in. And then I did just want to flag a couple important community meetings that are coming up in the next 2 weeks. So on this Thursday evening at 6 p.m., Councilor Spatafora and I will be co-hosting, along with the Friends of Fellsmere Heights and our OSPCD, a meeting, the first community meeting on the Fellsmere Pond Master Plan project, which is kind of a mouthful, but we're really excited about it. That's going to be on Zoom, and so anybody interested can visit cityofmalden.org to get the Zoom link. And then second to that, on the 23rd, we're going to be having a public safety meeting that's pretty focused on Ward 3, but is open to anybody who travels on Glenwood Street and has concerns with the configuration and speeding of kind of that intersection at Glenwood and Highland, as well as the side streets. So that is actually going to be a hybrid meeting. We'll be hosting that in City Hall, also at 6 p.m. That's on 2 Thursdays from this week. And if anybody wants to participate on Zoom, there will be a Zoom option as well. So all of that you can find on cityofmalden.org and also on my Facebook page. And that's all I've got.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor O'Malley?
Hello, I just wanted to let everyone know that there will be September 18th, this next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, but the next Saturday, September 18th is National Cleanup Day, Park Cleanup Day. So I will be hosting with various community groups a cleanup of Waits Mount. It's pretty much an annual thing. So if you're looking to get out and do some more things before the fall, please come up to Waits Mount. 10 a.m. September 18th for National Cleanup Day. I'll probably go to around noon, maybe 1 o'clock. I'll be posting more information about that. I also just want to recognize that this coming Saturday is the 20th anniversary of September 11th. There will be a commemoration at the fire station. I'm not going to take Councilor Murphy's thunder because I know she cares a lot about this, so I'll let Councilor Murphy give the rest of the details there. But it's been a long 20 years. I'm sure we all remember where we were that exact moment. I was in my freshman year English class at Malden High School, and I just remember how the training of my teacher at the time was so impeccable. We did a chalk talk to try to keep us, express our feelings about what's going on, with the fact that we're hearing about this. We kind of went up to the board one by one and wrote down how we were feeling. And the rule was you couldn't speak, you couldn't talk. And, it really kind of brought home, what other front lines? We have teachers who are, training for crazy things that can happen in schools. And we have our public safety officers, whether it's police or fire or emergency management or public health, on the front lines here in our community. So I just want to say thank you to our public safety officials in our community on the 20th anniversary of 9/11. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to wish the Jewish members of our community a wonderful and sweet Rosh Hashanah, which is today. And then I also wanted to announce, and I'll give more information, I've been working, and it's come together of a Malden Climate Forum that will be held at Malden Catholic on September 30th at 6 p.m. This is going to focus on stormwater flooding challenges, and particularly in the east side of the city. We have a lot of focus that's happened on the Mystic River watershed side. This is really trying to put together more of a coalition that's working on that side of the city. There's a lot of vulnerability on the Linden Brook culvert and Town Line Brook culvert that just good to highlight these issues. And so that'll be a focus on September 30th. So just invite people in the community to come out and learn more about that. And we'll be giving updates on just general. It's a good knowledge. I think we all saw what happened in New Jersey and Louisiana and other places. We're getting more inundated by heavy rainstorms, and so knowing what the status of our stormwater system is very critical to keep our folks safe. I know in Ward 6 we had a culvert collapse and caused flooding in several homes, and so it's a these are things we some of this infrastructure goes back to the 1850s. So, so we really need to get a better assessment, and I am working on that with our city engineer, Yem Lip, and our conservation director, Isaac Slavitt, as part of the ARPA thing as well. So, but this is just a way to really focus some attention on the east side of Malden, which hasn't had as much attention. So I hope everybody can participate on September 30th. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you. Councilor Murphy?
There we go. Thank you very much. And thank you, Councilor O'Malley, because that is exactly what I had my light on to say, is that this coming Saturday, the City of Malden, the Malden Fire Department, and the Malden Police Department will be observing the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. It is certainly a day, like the day JFK died, that you remember where you were. You will never forget that day. You'll never forget the images on television, and you'll never forget the people that were lost during that horrific attack. The event will kick off, or the observance will kick off at 9:30 a.m. at Central Fire Station, which is located on Sprague Street across from the Malden High School. So we would like anyone who can to come down in remembrance of that day, and all of the firefighters, the police, first responders, and the people who worked in the towers and buildings that were beside it, because there were a number of buildings beside the towers that came down. It was just a tragic, tragic day that we'll never forget. So we will hopefully see many of you on Saturday morning, 9:30. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. From the chair, let me just say that we've gone through a great deal this summer. We've gone through just this whole ending of the war in Afghanistan, the major evacuation of all of the troops and those Afghan persons who were helpful to the United States government. That the evacuation, as cumbersome as it was, there was a great deal of effort that was put into trying to take a bad situation and do the best that could be done with that. We pray that peace will come to Afghanistan now that the war is ended, and we've got that many people of Afghan nationality that are coming here to this country, that they can be accepted into the country and fit into the fabric of our American culture. I hope that we will all pray that that can go as smoothly as it can. We had a wonderful dedication of this renaming of the City Council chambers just a few weeks ago of renaming our City Council chambers after Herbert L. Jackson. The family was elated with the reception that was put on. We've got great coverage, and those of you who were able to come here and participate with that, I thank you very much for all of that. I think we set the bar high for receptions that can take place. This being the first that was here in this new building. I thought, Councilor Condon, you may want to comment about this, and Councilor Spatafora as well. It was nice seeing some of the older city councilors and other elected officials come out to participate. These folks who had been around when Jackson was in office and so forth. There used to be an organization that we may even think about reinstituting now that some of us are leaving the council after this term. And I hope that you all will be encouraged to participate. They have this thing called the ex-aldermen's group, that people who have been elected can continue to get together and after the contested elections are over, that the winners and the losers can get together and break bread once again and recognize that this is a small city that we live in, and we're all trying to do the best we can for our city government. And so maybe after the election, we might be able to get together and have a crow supper where the winners and the losers can get together and break bread and move forward for our city. Great to see you all back here after the summer recess, and look forward to the balance of this year. And I think that there is one more light on. Is that Councilor Condon? Who I'll let you speak.
Thank you,
get the last
Mr.
word.
President. I'd just like to recognize you for the way you put that ceremony together. And it was really extraordinary to come here and see the ex-mayors and, you know, the ex-city councils that you served with. And it was just a great opportunity to pay homage to the Jackson family. And you yourself, you just did a tremendous job, and I nominate you to be president of the ex-aldermen's committee to put something together.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. Well, anyway, with that, thank you very much. With that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Made by Counselor Murphy, second by Counselor Condon. The clerk will call the roll on adjournment.
Condon.
Condon, yes.
Crowe. Yes. DeMaria.
Yes.
Lenahan. Yes. Murphy. O'Malley. Yes. Seeker.
Yes.
Spatafora.
It's better for yes.
Winslow.
And Anderson, yes, we adjourn. Mr. Lizzie, can you get in touch with Anthony?
Yes.
The microphones were a problem. Thank you for bearing with me. I was having a very difficult time hearing many of you with the microphones that were off and having the Zoom meeting and not hearing them. And
I will get in touch with him.
thank you. Yes. So we need to have Anthony come in and balance these things.
That's not good.
Yeah, it's stressful, you know.
And we had a lot of feedback. You know, these mics